It began with the filming of the greatest franchise in cinematic history. 3 movies were given to The Lord of the Rings, incredible, epic, and most profound of all movies. 3 were given to The Hobbit, great crowd pleasers and masters of the box office sales. And two seasons were gifted to the Rings of Power, which above all else desired diversity. But they were all of them deceived, for another movie was made. And that movie just quite frankly was entertaining, but a little mediocre. Hey everybody, it's Luke Filmboss here, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Lord of the Rings War for the Rohirrim. And bottom line is that this movie is good, it's entertaining, and as a Lord of the Rings fan, I really enjoyed and appreciated how it gives a little bit of lore to Rohan. But on the whole, it just doesn't live up to that name, Lord of the Rings. It just feels like this little side story, which is exactly what it is. It feels like a side quest in a video game. It's not the one that you actually really want to play. It's not the one that you really care about, but it's entertaining. It's fun for the time being. I would definitely watch it again, but it's not like a must see. I wouldn't say, oh, if you love Lord of the Rings, or if you don't love Lord of the Rings, watch this movie. It's just a basic movie. Quite frankly, I don't see anybody but diehard fans really caring about this movie. Even me as a diehard fan, I really don't care that much about it. It's a fine story, but I would watch any of the movies, the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbits, and even Rings of Power over this movie. Even as much as I liked this movie more than season 1 of the Rings of Power, there was a little bit more substance there. There's more to that particular show in that season than this movie. While I think this movie is better in terms of consistency, in terms of the ideas behind it, it's just kind of a big old nothing because it doesn't really have any weight to it. There's nothing there. Whereas Rings of Power, it's actual crucial plot development in the grand saga of Lord of the Rings. Not to say that I didn't like this movie. I loved Helm Hammerhand. I liked Hela as a character. And to anybody who was out there on the internet, what's the one guy, Nerderotic or whatever, saying, oh, she's a Mary Sue, she's just more of this Hollywood wokeism, and this new Lord of the Rings film is woke. What are you talking about? No. The main character is a girl. It talks a little bit about like the Shield Maidens, which I don't even know if they're Middle Earth accurate to Tolkien's work or not. Who cares? Women are people. Women can be main characters. How is the movie written? Does it shoehorn in like, oh, men are evil, women are great, blah 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 blah? No, and it doesn't overpower Hela either. She's actually very leveled down. Most of the men in this movie are much more powerful and capable than she is. Even Wolf, who she goes toe to toe with at the end, was written in a way that you can believe that he lost in a fight to Hela. And it wasn't like she won because she's just an incredible fighter. No, she uses her brain in a lot of the situations, and it's believable. She uses her surroundings. She has help lots of the time. It makes sense. It's not like she's this overpowered, she accomplishes anything with ease. No, it's not one of those stories. It's just a story. It's believable. It's well written. It's consistent. I liked it. Once again, the story is so basic, it's so unconsequential to the wider story of Middle Earth that it's just kind of there. It doesn't mean anything, if that makes sense. I appreciated the fact that we get some lore to Rohan, and we got to see Helm Hammerhand. That was cool. But as a whole, the movie, like, who really cares about this war between the men trying to gain the crown? It's a story that didn't need to be told, but I still appreciate that it was told, because honestly, did we really need the Hobbit movies to enjoy The Lord of the Rings? No. It just gives us more to the story, and it's enjoyable. Did we honestly, as human beings, need the Lord of the Rings trilogy? We absolutely did. But if I'm talking logically, then we didn't need the Lord of the Rings. We just enjoy them. And so, if you loved War for the Rohirrim, it's a movie. It's there to be enjoyed as an entertaining piece of art. And if you just want to enjoy it as is, if you think that it's the greatest thing ever, then that's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine movie. I take no offense whatsoever if you enjoyed this movie or love this movie. There are some movies that I think are objectively bad. This is not one of those movies. Like it to your heart's content. I just want to say one more thing is the animation is like some of the shots, some of the individual frames are really detailed and pretty to look at, but as a whole, the movement of the movie just feels a little stiff, it just doesn't flow realistically, in my opinion. And not all movies need to, it can be an artistic choice, but to me, it felt more like they were on a time crunch or their budget didn't allow them to add more frames per second to get more fluent movement or whatnot. I would compare this movie's animation to something like some of the better DC animated films, like from the DC animated universe, like Justice League Dark and Death of Superman, some of those things. Honestly, I would say the Flashpoint Paradox, if you've seen that movie, had more impressive 2D animation. And maybe I would put this movie on the same level as Flashpoint Paradox. But I just think that because of their budget and everything, it just seemed like this movie was just kind of made for one obvious reason. And if you know any of the history of this film's production, this movie was made solely for the purpose of Warner Brothers retaining the rights to The Lord of the Rings in film. They had to make this movie in order to retain the film rights so that they did not lose them. And so they're like, we got to make a movie here quick. And so they're like, all right, let's make an animated Lord of the Rings movie. They gave it to a pretty successful anime director. And I do think that the choice to make this movie anime was clever and creatively was a good idea, even if I would have liked it to have been a different way. But I think as is with the circumstances and the situation, it turned out all right. But unfortunately, nobody cared because this movie is mega not making any money at the box office. It honestly is making less than the average anime movie makes. And that's not very good. But I enjoyed the movie. I'd give it... Originally, I was going to say maybe like an 80, but the more I think about it, it's just there. So I'm going to give it a solid like 76%, both quality and enjoyment. Very solid movie. Definitely not one of my favorites of the year, but it's definitely far from the worst. So if you are a Lord of the Rings fan, definitely check out War for the Rohirrim. I would have loved this movie to do well at the box office, but it's literally made so little money that it's not even technically on the radar. Like feels like a limited release, and that's kind of sad. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to help you be on the lookout for more videos from Luke Film Boss. For Frodo!